And I state that without arrogance. I don't mean to be arrogant, but I am a realist. And as a realist, it would be absolutely unprofessional for me to sit here and pretend I'm not an exceptional human being. Because I am.
The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, Edgar Berlanga, this is a guy that right now is a popular topic in boxing. You know, he recently split with Top Rank, and now he's a promotional free agent, so he's exploring his options. You know, Golden Boy, Matchroom, PBC. There's a lot of options out there for the monster, Edgar Berlanga, but you know, he split with Top Rank because Top Rank wanted to move him at a slower pace. He wanted the bigger fights. He wanted to really move along with his career. Top Rank feels like that would have been a wise decision to do. They're the best matchmakers in boxing for a reason, so they mutually decided to part ways. No harm, no foul. So Berlanga has been in everybody's mouth as far as promoters, and Eddie Hearn's been talking about him a lot. Eddie Hearn really seems keen on signing him because the reality is Edgar Berlanga is a draw. He can sell tickets. I mean, I've been to Edgar Berlanga fight before. I know what it's like when he fights. Was there when he fought Desmond Nicholson in Kissimmee, Florida, and I've seen his fights on TV. You know, he sold 5,000 tickets before fighting guys like Steve Rolls and Romero Angulo. So by himself, on a smaller scale than a Canelo Alvarez, he's a draw, but that's the kind of fight that the boxing industry really wants, is Canelo versus Berlanga, because it's Mexico, Puerto Rico. Now, personally, look, I think Mexico, Puerto Rico, for the most part, is one of the most played out rivalries in boxing. I'm in the minority, but like Mexico, Puerto Rico, most of the time isn't even that exciting because Mexico normally wins. That's just what it is. It's like the Yankees, Red Sox of boxing. Yeah, it was once a great rivalry, but it ain't a great rivalry right. It's not a great rivalry right now. It's cool, but it's not like what it once was. It reminds me of Yankees and Red Sox in baseball. Same thing. It used to be great like 20 years ago, but it ain't what it was years ago. So that's the fight the boxing industry wants because it's a big money-making fight. But the reality is Edgar Berlanga, he ain't on Canelo's level. He ain't even close to a Canelo level right now. He needs to prove that he can solidify himself as a real legitimate upper echelon top 10 middleweight, and he hasn't even done that yet. And in order to do that, he's gonna have to beat some upper echelon top 10 super middleweights. So, you know, Berlanga was speaking about the prospects of fighting Canelo, who, by the way, I remember this, but before I read this comment, I remember so clearly, because I did a video about it back when it was happening. I remember clearly when Edgar Berlanga was in the middle of that knockout streak, when he was on one of the greatest hype machines ever, when he was knocking everybody out, and that was an exciting time in boxing, when Edgar Berlanga would fight, and he was knocking everybody out in the first round. That shit was lit. I don't care what nobody says. He was bringing that excitement to boxing, right? And I remember, I think it was after the Eric Moon knockout. Might have been Eric Moon or Ulysses Sierra. It was one of those two. It was either Eric Moon or Ulysses Sierra. Edgar Berlanga, I remember, was saying, and this is like in 2020, that in 18 to 24 months he wanted to fight Canelo Alvarez. Now, them 18 to 24 months have passed, and he ain't ready for no motherfucking Canelo Alvarez fight. In fact, the 18 to 24 months is where he got really, you know, tested and got the rounds and didn't look as good as he needed to look. So now he still wants that fight, and he was speaking about it, and here's what he said about fighting Canelo Alvarez. He stated the following, and I quote, "Out of all the fighters out there, a fight with me makes the most sense. Why? Because I sell." And then he said, "I'm a star." So Edgar Berlanga believes in his abilities and believes in himself, and he should believe in himself. I don't care who you are in anything in life, whether you're a boxer, whether you run a construction business, whether you run a car business, whether you sell insurance. I don't care if it's playing video games. I don't care if it's talking to pretty women. You know, you should always have that belief about yourself, that you're that guy, that you are someone who is worth people's time, attention, and energy, right? And Edgar Berlanga, credit to him for remaining mentally strong and maintaining those beliefs about himself. That's why he is where he is, and the haters that he has are where they're at, you know. But he's got to prove himself, and I think if he signs the Matchroom, you know, in order for, in just my opinion, the two fighters I feel like he needs to get through, if we're gonna talk about him fighting Canelo Alvarez, he needs to fight John Ryder, irrespective of what happens with the Canelo fight. Whether Ryder wins or loses, he needs to fight John Ryder. John Ryder, Jesse Hart, John Ryder. And if you go, to me, like, if he could beat Jesse Hart and if he could beat John Ryder, to me, that would be enough to solidify him as a credible upper echelon top 10 168 pounder, because John Ryder to me is a top 5 168 pounder outside of the champions, of course, outside of the Plants and the Benavidez and the Morels and the Canelos. Like outside of that, out of all that, he's a top 5 168 pounder, you know? So by beating him and then beating a nice step up in Jesse Hart, who he's been supposed to fight, that to me should set him up for Canelo Alvarez if he can beat them. Now, that's a big if. That is a huge if, because based on what we see from Berlanga these last couple of fights, and I don't want to be the judge, you know, he's developing. You know, I think those fights were, I think those fights against Angulo, Rolls, these kind of fighters, Nicholson, these were his fights ultimately where he got his learning experience. You know, because when you just hitting everybody, bang, and they just falling down over and over again, like Eric Moon and Ulysses Sierra, when you do that over and over and over again, basically, you know, you think you're invincible. You're not really learning the way you need to learn to fight at championship level. So those were, to me, were his learning fights. And I think now is the fights where he proves himself and he really validates and legitimizes himself at 68. And yeah, you know, and look, if the Canelo fight never happens, if Berlanga signs the Matchroom, which I think he's gonna do, I think it would be his best option, one of his best options. If Berlanga doesn't get the Canelo fight, then it's okay. He can still beat some top 68 pounders, and maybe in 18 months, I think him and Diego Pacheco is the real Mexico versus Puerto Rico fight that we need to be talking about, because Pacheco's young, up and coming, you know, rising star. Edgar Berlanga, young, up and coming, rising star. It's a great fight. It's a hell of a fight that I think boxing needs. So yeah, that's the news. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below about Edgar Berlanga talking about Canelo. Leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.
Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire. For more great boxing content just like this video, click right here and make sure you subscribe. Much love from sunny South Florida.